perhaps you'll recognize this video clip. If we could have the lights down a little bit, I'll play this for you.
It's a Thuggee ceremony. They're worshiping Kali. Every time I see that scene, I'm worried that those three guys are just going to back right off the edge into the fire pit. But, so we've got this image of idolatry in our mind that is really completely inaccurate. I mean, we've got this idea of idolatry as being this, gigantic statue and all that flame and fire and people doing weird things and like people on all fours going, that kind of stuff. And we've never done that. Well, I haven't. Have you? Maybe we should talk. But I've never been a part of that kind of stuff. In fact, there was only one time in my life when I even saw an idol, and that was when I was in a Hindu temple, and they had an idol there to one of their gods called Shiva. And it's not even an idol that looks like anything. It looks like one of those rocks that they had, just one of those big rocks. And to worship it, they poured orange juice and other kinds of fruit things and other food things all over the top of it, and it all fell to the ground and then just laid there in a heap. And I thought, wow, that looks appetizing. And so that's the way they worshipped that particular god. That's the only time I've ever seen an idol. Or is there another time? Oh, that's my Pooh Bear. When I was a kid, I was actually afraid that I was violating command number 2 because see, it doesn't say you should not worship the image only. It says you shouldn't make an image. It says you shouldn't make an idol. And I was freaked out because one day I looked at my toys, and every one of my toys was a representation of something in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in the waters below. Every one of my toys was a representation of something. A bear? And I was worried. I was like, Mom, I love my Pooh Bear. I don't want to get rid of it. Is it an idol? And then by saying that, I kind of indicated that it might have been. But there was this idea that, I am violating that command. And so I just decided, well, I'm just going to perpetuate this. And so on vacation, we bought for my children idols. Charlie, we bought him a stuffed space shuttle idol. And then for my daughter, we bought her a baby Dumbo idol. And perhaps you have some idols who come into your home regularly. I don't know if that's the case. But there are idols in this world. Maybe when I say idol, you think about these guys. Or maybe when I say idol, you think about something like that. Or maybe you've seen another idol in your life that would look like this guy. One of my personal favorites would be this one. And then I'm also a pretty big fan of this one. Oh, hang on. Oh, dude, that's cool. Oh, sorry. I forgot to remind you to bring yours. But anyway, we've got this society that actually has all kinds of things that we think might be, that could be idols. We just have no idea what idolatry is really all about. But I'm going to say something to you today, that God, I believe, gives us the commands in this list of 10 because He knows what's lying under the surface of our hearts. He's not telling us commands because these are some arbitrary rules that somehow He decided we needed to follow. He's giving us these commands because these are the things that lie beneath the surface of our lives, and He is trying to dig them out. The way I phrased it, and this is the first blank you can fill in, is that God gives us these commands because idolatry is a problem for every one of us, lying just beneath the surface. This is the truth. Idolatry, even though I'm not talking about the Temple of Doom, nor am I really talking about worshiping a 3D statue of Rocky Balboa or Yoda, whoever you might desire. I am not talking about that kind of stuff, but idolatry as a concept is something that is lying beneath the surface of every one of our lives, and God wants to dig it out. So I'm going to illustrate that to you today from these lines from the first 10 commandments. And so we're going to jump into it. The first phrase that you see in that first command, God says, "You shall have no other gods." So we're going to unpack that a little bit. No other gods. I believe God is giving us that because we have a temptation in our lives. And I would phrase the temptation this way. It's a temptation to replace God, to replace Him. It basically says this phrase: this God is not right for me. We have this temptation to say, I am going to determine whether or not that particular kind of God is right for me. And so this shows up in our lives all over the place. In the first place, you would say, we've got the most obvious one, that's the atheists. The atheists would say, listen, I have done all the research and I have seen all the atrocities that have been done in the name of religion. And any religion that can produce that kind of atrocities must not be healthy, must not be worthwhile, must not be good. And so therefore the God behind that religion cannot be good for Him to allow that religion to continue on. Therefore, as I draw my line backwards, I can't accept that God. And you take that and you multiply that out through all the religions of the world until finally you say, listen, this world has a bunch of problems in it. This world has a bunch of evil in it. And yet, I can't really wrap my brains around a God who would allow that much evil to be in this world, that much pain, that much suffering. Therefore, there must not be a God at all, at least not one that I'm going to accept. And so that's how you get the spectrum of agnostic and atheist, and sometimes even on the far end, the militant atheist, like someone like Richard Dawkins, who would say, listen, religion is a canker on our society and we must wipe it out altogether. That's the extreme case. But then again, you've also got the people who would be involved in, say, a cult, where maybe they were raised in a particular arm of Christianity, and then later on someone comes and they say, there's new information